Hello, David. We are at episode 21 of No Art, No Life.
Can't believe it. I mean, we have 21 of those hours for people to see.
We do.
And I hope they do see it because, we're not talking about this ephemera that goes on the news all the time. We are trying to make some ideas that coordinate with or disagree with ideas that you have. Now, in my piano class this week, I really went, as I often do, a little overboard with the audience because there was some new members.
Members in the audience?
Yeah, and I said, maybe I can, have a little fun. And I was talking about one of my hatreds, which is the television commercial. Oh my gosh. And so I did my, little things, and afterwards, a doctor came up to me and said, I don't think you have to keep doing those television commercial things. I said, I do. I said, as long as this is my format, there's some new people here, and there's some new ideas from it. But he put it in my mind that, you see, here he is, he's paying for the classes, and I think I'm giving him a damn good buy. But no, he and someone else maybe were thinking, oh, there he goes again, Duval, on those TV commercials.
This is a fascinating thing, David, because we ended our last discussion, and this is a pure coincidence that you bring this up about the television ad and the man lodging the complaint with you. Do you remember we were speaking last week about course outlines and the syllabus nightmare to which one is submitted if one teaches at a college? And I think we both agreed that it was the kind of thing one would dream to do without if you could. And there was a wonderful quote that you gave about someone who was very highly placed who said that if you are asked to do a course outline or a syllabus, leave the position. Who was that?
Jacques Barzun.
Oh, yes.
Barzun, the man who wrote From Light to Decadence. He lived till 99. He even did a preface for my teacher Arthur Lesser's book, Men, Women, and Pianos. And about 20 years ago, I looked in the great source it was, called the New York phone book, to see, well, will he be in there? No, because why would he be there? He'd be bothered maybe. But he was there, and I bothered him.
Okay.
And I said, Mr. Barson, my name is David Duval. This is Jack Cole.
Okay.
I said, you may know my name from radio, my shows on WQXR or WWFM or WNCN earlier, and he says, yes, I do know you, because I've written a lot about broadcast music, yes. And I said, well, your preface is so wonderful to Arthur Lesser's masterpiece called Men, Women, and Pianos. Oh, Arthur's book is inimitable. And I said, is there any way that I could interview you also, because there's very few that have the wideness of and width of erudition you do, sir. And I said, I would love to be interviewed by you. It's just so simple, my goodness. It's coming my way.
Yes.
Then he says, but I can't. I'm in the midst of From Dawn to Decadence.
Oh.
He's 99, and I just want to be able to live to finish it.
Wow.
So I said, Mr. Barson, absolutely understand, and I wish you the best of luck. I've read many of your books, The House of Intellect, and on and on. And he knew that he was talking to someone that cared about him. We went on, and that was all. But this was not the time that he said something about the syllabus. I was listening to something could have been C-SPAN or something. He was interviewed, and he was talking about the fact that if you have to follow a syllabus in a university, you better quit now, because that's just a no-no. You do not have anyone telling a gifted teacher how to teach.
See, I always felt that instinctively. However, when you mention the tale of this week's class of piano evenings with David Duvall, and you say a veteran attendee asked you to omit something that he felt was a tangent, that he, in essence, as you say, because he's paying for the class, something that he doesn't want to pay for because he has a certain expectation. So David, have you encountered Buckley's book, God and Man at Yale?
William F. Buckley?
Yes.
No, I haven't.
Well, the book I came into by a friend's recommendation because it makes an interesting argument against academic freedom. And it's kind of a miniature version of what you say the fellow in your class is saying, that I have bought this thing, which is of course an intellectual experience that makes a certain promise to deliver a certain kind of information to me. And Buckley's argument, if I remember the book well enough, I read it maybe a decade ago, in fact I read it twice, somehow absorbed me that it wasn't the argument that I thought it was going to be, because it was against academic freedom. And even I think, if I remember properly, that if a man was sending his son to a college to which he had attended, and he took pride in the fact of what he got from that college because it represented a certain degree of canonical thinking, that if he was then buying this abstract entity for his son, that academic freedom sometimes was preventing him from buying the very thing that he was expecting to buy. So I was just curious if you had ever encountered that argument, and how did you answer the man? Well, I think you did. In essence, the man was making Buckley's argument from God and Men at Yale in your class about not wanting to hear these tangents that he didn't think were related to piano literature, but the gifted teacher was, and that's you standing before this group, is of course emphasizing the notion that the piano isolated becomes a thing that's going to atrophy, that in the Lisztian sense it has to truly be integrated into the whole canon of thought and being alive. And that is what I believe you're doing. And so why does it make the man uncomfortable to hear those tangents? And do you, at the same time, can you play devil's advocate and imagine the Buckley argument about against academic freedom?
So Buckley's is against academic freedom.
Well, the idea, if I understand the book properly, again, that there does, in a sense, have to be a syllabus, that there does have to be an outline insofar that...
There is always an outline of a
Yeah.
teacher if that's the subject. The subject is the piano and the piano literature, but just as you say, Liszt must have made many remarks about the world around him.
Yes.
And so does any sensitive teacher. When I was teaching piano literature, I would deviate in many areas, but they would always come back to something in relation to the composer or the pianist. These composers and pianists are not stupid. They also feel, you know, the great pressures of a non-cultured, post-reason world now. We're so topsy-turvy. Now the fact is that when I say this, I do get frightened because these are people that have paid to, yes, hear me, and they are told all the time they can disagree with me, that I am not up there as an authority. You could raise your hand and say that afterwards. You don't have to say it privately. You could say, oh, you already told us about TV commercials. It's getting boring. Well, I would say, I don't think so. This is a new class, and this is one of my themes, and it's my class, and if you want to have one, try to create one. But I will continue doing many, many things. So there was a new woman in there, and afterwards she said, oh, Mr. Duvall, I never heard so many remarks that were startling. I've never heard anyone talk about any of these things you do. I say, well then, someone else though here doesn't want me to talk about commercials. Oh, she says, every TV commercial I want to write the product or get rid of them. I said, well, yes, every intelligent person must do that. I write letters to get rid of this or that because they make you very depressed. And so we are an addicted group, and I read an Isaac Singer thing about the American is the most gullible of all humans because he will believe, and he's educated in every single possible conditioning of buying products. That's all he does. If he's feeling bad, I'll buy some new toothpaste. You know, better a new brush, because you could use a good brush for the teeth on a canvas if you want. You know, there's many things, but Barzin's thing hit me hard because I did indeed have to do these syllabuses, because the universities, who have very little control, let alone interest, in what any individual learns. First of all, there is nothing to learn in a college except if it's a technical college, and you know, you may have to know something about physics or chemistry. I mean, have to pour a certain amount. But bringing up chemistry, something good. You know, we love movies.
Yes.
I don't like Spencer Tracy.
That's interesting. I have a gut reaction that resists him as well. Let's hear what yours is.
Yes, it's interesting because, Jack, everything about him is common to me, and no glamour. Again, remember, I watch movies for real glamour.
Yes.
A great beauty or something.
Yes.
A great character actor, and it isn't Lionel Barrymore. You get to know all of these people very well, and they're really and were a great part of American life until the present two generations, which never even heard of Greta Garbo probably. But so what was I saying?
Well, you were talking about Spencer Tracy and resisting his.
So here I am, you know, I'm having my coffee or whatever I had, and I'm sitting, putting on channel 82 with Ben Mankiewicz, who always talks this way, never straight.
Interesting.
So television for me is a world of details that are so strange.
What do you make of a man who's not quite vertical in his stance as he's presenting something to you?
He doesn't believe what he's saying. He's reading a script.
Okay.
If I were reading a script, I'd be moving this way or that way, or you know. So I think it's that simple. Reading a script, they all do, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
Because they're not memorizing any material. They lose it instantaneously. So anyway, I doubt that he is a major historian of movies. I think you are a real historian of movies.
Thank you, David.
So I'm listening. Put it on. Oh God! Oh, I can't bear it. Give me a new movie. I've seen each one 23 times.
Yes.
Although my contemporaries, I mean my young students, have never heard of any of these people, and would never even watch a black and white. They hate them.
I've heard people say that, and yet when I see the Warner Brothers shield and hear their fanfare, it seems like an absolute opioid that draws me into a world that I would do anything to enter.
Oh yeah.
Almost as if the period was itself in that kind of graded black and white.
Yes, of course it was.
As if I stepped into its actuality, it would look like that.
Film noir was not some major event in the world, and it came right from the black and white movie.
Yes.
That simple. They had a few more camera angles and shadows.
So Spencer Tracy had a film that came on when you were...
Yes, I said, oh God, I remember this one. This is, this one I saw, it's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Now there's a movie, I must say, however, it's amazing you mentioned that. That's one of the few of Spencer Tracy that I admire.
So many times we agree, so many times.
I mean, what a war between the women in that movie, vying for the flair level. There's even a phantasmagoric sequence where they're presented almost in some kind of dreamscape between his monster state and his sober state as to which kind of flair level he should accept. Of course, you know, the woman that I guess he plucks from the music hall, who I believe is the one played by Ingrid Bergman. And then, of course, then there's the imagined decent girl,
The nice girl.
who was played in this case by Lana Turner, and I think she kind of pulls it off, notwithstanding the fact that usually she's the dangerous prize.
Yes, I was a little upset with Lana Turner's not coming up to the physical beauty, and in fact, the acting was of the highest that Ingrid Bergman ever gave in any movie that I know of in her oeuvre, is in this movie.
In this movie.
Now, I pride myself on not being some sort of idiot who says, "Oh, I hate Spencer Tracy. He's so common. His face is so boring." All of it true.
Yes.
Always pulls off things. Everyone in Hollywood was like, "Oh God, to work with him is so he must have had something."
Okay.
Who am I to say that I don't like him? That's your job, as a participator in the movies. They didn't want you to like everyone. They wanted you to love this one and hate whatever. So, so I said, "Oh God," turned another channel on and said, no, let me go back to this. Let me show that I have some open mind.
Okay.
I've seen this many years ago. Oh God, I don't know if I can get through any Spencer Tracy. It's the greatest movie he's ever made.
It is.
It's unbelievable. This guy, and he's breaking glasses and windows and throwing things.
Yes.
Everything I think the real Tracy has always wanted to do, and I don't think there was a stuntman. I think he was even going over some of those fences in his black.
Yes.
I felt he felt to be an evil swashbuckler.
There are some. You're right. That movie has. They're very few and far between. But moments where he leaps over stone walls or wrought iron fences with a magnificent swashbuckling thing that affords his cape to move in the London fog.
All goes back to John Milton and the Great Devil, huh?
Yes, it does. Do you think it's because it released something in him?
He's never been better.
No.
In both roles, both men.
Yes.
But, oh my God. And of course, it tells you that all of this bull of technology means nothing for film and in art, because whatever primitive way they changed Hyde to Jekyll works perfectly.
It does.
And his teeth, which actually were hardly, Dracula teeth.
Yeah.
But, ooh, you couldn't stand that smile.
No.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Spectacular movie.
And then, I wasn't fond always of, a beauty of the level of the Swedish princess. Bergman having to say ain't, a word I despise, but of course it gives you the class instantaneously.
Yes.
Her eyes were so luminous. She had sometimes a veil of tears over them. She never used her mouth better.
Mm-hmm.
She had absolute erotic aspects.
Mm-hmm.
She was at her best.
Mm-hmm.
And Lana Turner, who really was the one that was supposed to be playing her, Mankiewicz tells us. These kind of little informations I love him to give.
Yes. You mean those roles were supposed to have been reversed?
She worked very hard to get that role for herself. She had 3 American movies, Ingrid Bergman, and Intermezzo, and the fun one with.
Are you thinking of Gaslight?
Yeah, no, that came I think maybe a little bit after.
Oh, okay.
She said she was playing three nice ladies. She couldn't stand being typecast already, and she begged for this role.
So Bergman lobbied for the
badly and got it above.
Okay.
Lana Turner, who was supposed to take it, but it was a good enough role for Lana Turner to take it.
Okay.
And she was the good girl.
Yeah.
And so forth. So that's the story there, and I listened to the whole thing and said, wow, very major film.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
I said, this is the Stevenson story, right?
Yes,
Robert Louis Stevenson. I never read it, but I would love to read it now.
Yes. Yeah, it's amazing, David, that you happened upon that. Because
I was going to turn it off because I can't take another one about what's so good about him.
Agreed.
Spencer Tracy, so boring. No, he was so great.
Yes.
So you see, one's mind can be turned open from a negativity.
Yes.
And now I have a whole, I can't talk about Spencer Tracy in the same way.
No.
He made a masterful movie.
Yes, he did.
These are interesting things, aren't they?
I'll
To
just
me,
say the
I
least.
wonder why we don't have 700,000 or 800,000 people a time listening to us. It's the only thing that's being talked about, in my opinion, that has any value.
I agree.
What do we want to talk about politics for, or God, or Jesus Christ, or any of this stuff?
Well, as Faulkner observes, I think I've told you that there's nothing wrong with Christianity, but no one's tried it yet. So I think perhaps that's the reason that it's become hackneyed.
Talking about Christianity, Marcus Aurelius said, Henry James said,
Okay.
the only true, in the statues in Rome, the only true Christian in Rome is the statue of Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic.
Have you spent time with Aurelius's meditations?
Oh, of course I've read
Yeah.
3-4 times.
I knew you would have, yeah.
Oh, he's an amazing guy. Think of him. He's writing those at night. You know.
Yes.
How did they even write? It was so hard, and he was right in the swamps of the Danube. You know. I mean, how did we get to the point where these idiot leaders don't go into the war?
It's interesting. And also the idea that emphasizes that really gifted creators do not need idealized circumstances when they work. They are obliged to do it. Nothing will stop them. As I always think, I think we've mentioned this many times before, when I always remind myself that I'm getting too precise in what I think are the environments that I need to work on something, I think of what Liszt went through when he wrote the sonata in B minor. It's an extraordinary list of inconveniences, to say the least, in which anyone would have had right to say, I'll defer my work until at least one or two of these things has passed. But I always use that as, now you're saying Aurelius. I guess it would have been on one of his military campaigns.
He was off in Lower Austria, and
Yeah.
he's probably sitting in straw and in water, and he's leading his men, and he certainly doesn't have ballpoint pens or anything.
No. Yes.
I mean, this guy wrote one of the great masterpieces of the world. I mean, you could meditate on those meditations day and night, and thank goodness 3,000 years or wherever more, they're still ready for us to read. He's a major figure in world history.
Yes.
And I think that's the truth. There's your finest Christian, this pagan emperor.
In a way, yes. Why do you think it's not as fashionable? Is it because people are ashamed to encounter the standards that he cites? I don't encounter it except very rarely. I mean, I've heard you cite him, but for something that's so powerful, so sound when one encounters it, and one doesn't need to even read it in a left to right fashion. It really is structured in a way that one can draw as if one is living in a non-sequential universe, and draw on these ideas that reinforce then that our own lives should not become sequential in the sense where I say to myself, this has happened to me, hence now I can't feel the same way about something. Because events really should be moot if we have an inner sense of conviction about things, and that's even reinforced by the structure of reading the meditations. They're not sequential.
I think you could even read some of the meditations from the last line up.
Yes, and go backwards. Yes. And I find myself doing that more as I age with other books, seeing if they pass the test of reading them out of order, sometimes starting from the back.
Yes, and there's a few books that I've read recently that way, and they haven't passed the test.
Interesting.
One of them being, a book that I used to just have such joy in, the book by Ortega Gasset, the Mass,
Okay.
the Masked Man. Not the Masked Man. He was fascinating too on his horse Silver.
Oh, yes. Oh gosh, the Lone Ranger.
The Lone Ranger.
Another lost element that was such a part of cultural literacy. and the overtone of what that meant.
The Lone Ranger.
Yes. I mean, was that part of your childhood awareness?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, when I would hear I knew instantly that this was a very great overture of music, the William Tell that they used for this, you know?
Yes.
That part of it, that last part of it. But the whole thing, when I did hear a 12-minute overture to William Tell, the last of all of the operas of Rossini, he never wrote another one after, like, what, age 35? Well, I knew as a child, this is big-time music. How does this not creep into the soul of so many small-souled men who just live by the junk music? Where are they going to get? There's no radio left that way, except my radio program, which is a different concept. There's no theme of Rossini starting it or Tannhäuser. Where in the hell are they going to hear this? The schools, the 10,000 schools is a small number compared to what really is in this country. They don't have any music at all. You're never going to hear the silver splendor of that galloping scene in The Lone Ranger that was on every night, I think.
And the miracle, the mystery that these films, or in that case serials that kids were watching episode by episode, they could appropriate things from another time and another place and yet not fail in their distribution to serve the thing that was new, and yet at the same time gently also distribute that thing as it was. It served two functions, and I don't think popular culture can do that anymore. That when you gave a child a quarter or a nickel when you went to the movie palace in the past and you fueled up with your soda and the popcorn and could spend a whole day there, as we imagine people did, because they were newsreels, cartoons, serials, and then a couple features.
Cartoon carnivals,
Yes.
15 of them in a row before the double feature.
Right, and then all these films could give a hint at art music, and in my opinion, not appropriate them in such a way that they, even if they were rearranged and subjected to orchestrations that distort to a degree, but they would still distribute in a way that was of service to the child and serve the image to which they would wed, as in the Rossini overture. I mean, he had no conception that suddenly this would somehow suddenly seem so ringingly appropriate to a masked man on a white horse in the Texas desert. But it works. And there has to be a reason more than mere coincidence that it can serve two functions like that. And that the person who borrows it and puts it into the Lone Ranger isn't really committing a crime of appropriation. It somehow is a fascinating thing how the Lone Ranger material serves those two functions. And if I dare say, it almost seems to work better when we hear the galloping hooves in those thrilling days of yesteryear.
Those thrilling days of yesteryear.
Yes.
Tonto.
Yes.
The Lone Ranger, and you know, they're so good. Here we are, not knowing that they're just a microphone in a studio when they're going through the sound effects.
Yes, when they did on
it's
radio.
as if you're in the Texas Ranger, world.
Yes.
And the Indians and what a wonderful time for children at that. Every night I wouldn't even, when my mother said, get to bed, I mean, I knew that she just wanted to get us out of the way, but I didn't realize that I was happy to get out of the way because I was going to hear The Lone Ranger rides again.
Yes. Why do you think we don't have something like that now?
It's incredible. We have nothing.
Yeah.
This horrible Kukla Frananali, what was that, 30 years ago? It evolved to every single station, including every commercial that has a fake animal talking to you. A zebra is selling you aspirin.
Yes.
A elephant is, and they're all laughing. And where did this infantile world come from that everyone is now, even in the commercials, they're animals?
Yes, that's an interesting.
But the animals, all we do is kill.
It's interesting.
And yet they're around us every minute on
But the
TV.
remarkable dichotomy that you just pointed out, that we as adults have become obsessed with the personification of animals, that I imagine that comes from children's literature bleeding over into adults who've never
Oh,
escaped.
those horrible things they have on public television,
Mm.
you know, which everyone has, you know, made into big deal. Oh, they're awful for children.
Mm. And then, as you say, yet at the same time, animals that those puppets represent suffer so much in reality, and yet they continue to ascend
Yeah.
in the personified things that we show children.
Yeah, and they're green things and they're talking to us. They're selling us products.
Yes, yeah.
Would someone in the 1940s listening to, you know, The Shadow or all the hundreds of interesting, even the commercials were, I remember commercials like, it was done with such seductiveness on the Lux Radio Theater.
Mm-hmm.
Real acting.
Yes.
And they would say, oh, I mean, the Lux shampoo, they would make it so you wanted to put your hands in shampoo.
Mhm.
No one wants to, you know, even hear it now.
Right.
Anyway. I think that we are, and we've got to escape our time.
Mhm.
We've got to go back to not being infantilized.
Mhm.
We're not children.
Mhm.
We're facing a game show every night with a president who has no idea of reality.
Mm.
It's just an extraordinary time, and it's been going on not just since this, but going on through the movie star Reagan, the Governor Schwarzenegger with a body. What is this, to admire an over-muscled body?
Mhm.
I'm sorry, Arnold. I mean, you know, you worked hard
Mhm.
to get those latissimus dorsi muscles.
Yes, yes.
Who wants them?
Right.
That's a huge amount of weight.
Yes, it is.
Everything is distorted out of proportion.
Mm-hmm.
Bodybuilding started as a, you know, rather small little thing from York, Pennsylvania, Bob Hoffman, Joe Weider, and now it's become, you know, every gym, every man is trying to outdo each one in their push-ups.
And it's funny, when we look back in the era of the films that we started to talk about today, when they had athletes transition into the movies, like a Johnny Weissmuller, let's say, playing Tarzan, they don't in any...
Well, it's a human body that is...
That's right, they don't in any way approximate...
You don't have six pecs.
No, yes. They still look like human beings.
They look like human beings. There's your major...
Yeah.
They still look like human beings. It started to deteriorate with the B and C movies where Steve Reeves, Mr. Universe, would be Hercules in the Odyssey movie,
Yes.
you know, or something.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't we have more fun, more pleasure, more action, more involvement?
Mm.
We're just now so passive. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with Jack?
Mm-hmm.
I would hope so, because you can turn us off and that would make me so happy.
Okay.
I don't want you to watch me if I'm giving you things you don't want to hear. But I rather like the idea of the woman coming to me and saying, I never heard such remarks. And the truth is, everyone should be saying very strange and wonderful and weird remarks these days to everyone, because we've got to start entertaining each other.
Agreed.
We don't even talk to each other.
No. Mm-hmm.
All the pianists, by the way, come every Tuesday, 6:30 to piano evenings. It's the greatest thing in New York. I ended last week saying, after the Grieg Concerto played by Anna Cellist and her husband Dmitri, I mean, and they went crazy, the small audience of 70 or whatever, and in this lovely church on this great piano, and I was saying, you have just participated in the most important 2 hours that was taking place in New York City, and that's for sure.
Yes.
1,500 people should have been crowded in there, as it once was when each Sunday Olga Samaroff, the greatest piano teacher of her age, did a series at Town Hall, and it was filled to, capacity all the time. We have more people, are they people, than ever before. Cannot, because you do not know what it means to have heard the Lone Ranger theme.
Yes.
You have to know it.
David, have you ever heard anyone play in person Liszt's transcription of the William Tell Overture?
Yes, Cifra.
Okay.
Wonderful. Oh,
Yes.
everything Liszt did is wonderful.
Yes. On hearing that, were you able to escape the association in your mind with the Lone Ranger when you heard Cifra play?
Absolutely.
You were able to escape.
No, I mean, I just took it for granted. It's part of me.
Oh, it is part of it, yes.
I didn't think of the Masked Man. I was thinking of, my God, this is, this exciting music on the piano.
Yes. And didn't Liszt weary of being obliged to play that? Didn't people ask him to play that particular transcription frequently? I had that impression.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I mean, he may have. It was always, it's a beautiful long word. It's 12 minutes, and what I would rather know is what Rossini thought about it, but I don't know what he thought about the transcription, the arrangement of a whole overture by another composer, such as Liszt, involving or a scene in an opera such as the Rigoletto Paraphrase, where the quartet from Rigoletto is a marvelous concept, but Liszt makes it a greater work of art and adds about 3 minutes to it with all the filigree.
Okay.
Yes, to be an artist is to be the most wonderful of all of our aspirations. In fact, I don't understand why you would want to not know about art, and that's why I'd like you to subscribe to No Life. If no art, I mean.
Yes, no art, no life.
No art, no life. I have trouble with so many phrases, and I want you to write to us. We are on both Subchat,
Substack, and YouTube.
and YouTube. And by now, after the 21st of our journeys in ideas, we should be moving towards the 3 or 4 billion people that should be watching us. And I hope they do all know English, because it's an important thing for everyone in the world to know English, not because that's the only language I know, but
Same here.
I'm what you call a primitive American. The school system doesn't care about you becoming educated.
Well, you've proven that our native tongue is inexhaustible if one continues to always expand it. So I don't think you've had time or necessity to address yourself to another language, because every time I speak with you, it shows its ever greater plasticity.
No, I don't even know what that word means. I mean, thank you.
Well, I just mean that I never cease to think of another way that English can show its power. So why even need to squander your time
Thank you very much.
in the rudiments of another language when you keep showing me the tremendous, endless frontier of English?
It is just endless.
It
I
is.
mean, well, this week we've been talking about what we do read and so forth, and I've had a good time reading The Revolt of the Masses again. Although I just criticized it. I think the translation is terrible.
Okay.
From Spanish. One has to be careful, especially of Spanish. I don't know why. I don't know, because I don't know the language. And German, very, very, very difficult language to translate. Goethe's poems almost are meaningless in English. Things like that are considered so lovely or beautiful. So if you stick with English and the English poets, I think you could do very well with Byron, Pope, and a few others for your whole life.
Yes.
I think it's a big mistake to try too much. We don't live long enough.
Agreed. There's probably greater virtue in rereading than mere prolific reading with single instances.
Yeah, I'm getting to agree with that
Mhm.
totally. The idea of the single reading is almost invariably superficial, don't you
Yes,
think?
I think so. And I don't know if there's a virtue in, even if one reads carefully a single time, in reading a single time, and then within a reasonable amount of time not being able to recollect that. I'm not sure if that influence really has power unless we can, with great facility, speak of what we have read. Almost to a degree that we can paraphrase it. I don't mean maybe the whole thing,
I
but
think
almost.
yeah, if you're not able to do that, you really weren't concentrating much.
No. Mm-hmm.
Better word than concentration is you weren't paying attention to what the writer, and I've seen paragraphs go by that I was thinking of, spaghetti and meatballs.
Yes.
I didn't realize it, and I said, well, let me go on.
Mhm.
No, you have to be disciplined. Go back. You did not. You were thinking of spaghetti and meatballs. I
Mhm.
want to show that I can respect the author
Mm-hmm.
and go back and read what he did say.
Yes.
And very often it's totally different than I thought.
Yes, it is. I noticed that phenomenon, especially, and you've taught me very much the virtue of marking one's books, because I have no intention of ever giving them away or selling them, so why don't I mark my own
No.
books? So that I've noticed when I go back to try to find a passage that I think is worth looking at again or to read to another, as I've tried to find something for you that I've not marked, a fascinating thing happens sometimes. Have you ever, in going to search for a passage that you can't find, swear that it's going to be in a certain position in the pagination?
Oh, I swear
And
it is.
then-
I know where it will be, and I'm wrong.
And then one is wrong. And the only thing I can think that happens is there's a fine line in an early reading in honoring the creative act that's happening when you are not made a slave to a text. And then the other side of the fine line where at the same time, if we only submit to our creative self distorting the text, we haven't then perhaps absorbed whatever lesson we can get from it, in which case then even the pagination will start to lock so that I know where things are. Because I think you've had this experience too. That doesn't happen with me as much when I practice piano pieces, because we're doing it so much we start to even vaguely see the pages when we are playing them. In fact, one of the last things that is such a glory when we memorize a piece is we're no longer doing that obligatory reach with our right hand. And then I still will have the impulse when I'll come to certain spots to think, I'm going to have to raise my right hand, and that's the last thing to go when I memorize a piece, that I no longer sensing that the pagination is at the bottom of the right page. So I find it fascinating that when I go to look for passages, they are almost never where I think they are. They've shifted. But I also then, so let's examine what must be the benign aspect of that, is that we should also maybe take pride when we think our memories are faulty, because it means our creative self is already taking the thing that we think is valuable and transforming it into something else. Because oftentimes I think I'm quoting authors with absolute fidelity, and it turns out I have adapted something they've said into a paraphrase.
And this happens the more you read more than once.
Yes.
I mean, only when this happens do you have a new realm of thinking about
Mm-hmm.
the author and the author's message. There's no reason to write for anyone unless there is a message that he wants to get across
Mhm.
to you.
Mhm.
Could be artistic as a poetry. It could be analytic. Oh, do I wish I knew more about science? And yet, I'm always struggling against it.
You just said, David, a phrase. I'm going to risk sharing it now. That is part of what I'm working on in terms of an essay. I think one of the greatest phrases in the English language that implies a tremendous aspect of flexibility and frontier and promise and hope in our heart is the phrase, "and yet." Meaning we can come to the end of a lifetime of study and feel very certain about something, and then pause in the private heart, and I will feel very encouraged, and then all of a sudden pause and say, "and yet," meaning there still is that wonderful unanswered question about everything. I think it's one of our great phrases.
That great phrase is a great phrase of faith in the future. Even.
Yes, it is.
Well, we've talked about a lot of wonderful things.
Yes, thank you, David.
we had no idea what we would talk about.
No,
We never
especially
do.
today, yes.
I think good friends always have multitude of subjects.
Yes.
And I was out to dinner with a group after my piano evenings on Tuesday at 123 West 71st.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to do is get off of the at 72nd and Broadway and walk down a little on 7. You'll find me, and I would love to meet you.
Mm.
The world is endless.
Mm-hmm.
Not in the sameness of, okay, trees. Trees are wonderful, but someone said, well, they have roots and they don't have legs, and I have legs, I can walk. I think it's better to have legs and just stay there my whole life in the roots.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think a lot of people really, and sometimes when I'm at my most depressed, I just stay in the roots. I just won't move. I won't give myself that color. And going back to that important phrase of ours, that flare, that flare that just comes up and it shoots out of your nostrils at times. And you're up for things when that flare level is hitting the 100-degree
Yes.
mark.
And it can come from so many sources. And let's say again, in credit to Mr. Tracy, that wow, when he was leaping over those stone walls or those wrought iron gates in the backlot depiction of foggy London, that's some serious flair with that cape.
That was serious flair, and
Yes.
I'm proud of him. I didn't know he had that in him.
Yes.
And he's at the, he's trying to seduce the barmaid Bergman there,
Yes.
and then he makes a whole ruckus happen, and he's so happy because this all of the part of him that's suppressed.
Yes.
That we by civilization have to be very nice, or we would really be breaking the law and so
Yes.
forth. And he would finally he threw the champagne on the waiter's head, and
Yes.
he's so happy about it.
Now,
We've all felt these wonderful
Yes.
things, and that's where art, in this case, this movie approached real ideas that, Stevenson had in his own mind. He was a very fascinating man. It's a shame he died in 44.
I don't know much about him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, do we have a little more today? We have 10 hours if we want, but
We always
I
could.
think that,
Yes.
I think there's a lot that we have said.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that we have to have subscriptions, don't we?
You mean, can we gain more subscribers than we have?
Yeah.
Of course we can.
Got
Yes.
to, just
Mhm.
got to.
Yes.
Please tell your friends if you like us.
Mm-hmm.
Enter into this with us, and I say to you, Jack, I'll see you next week.
I would be honored.
I will say what I say at the end of my radio show
Mhm.
for 40 years. Thank you. This is David Duvall. This is David Duvall. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.